Okay, if you've been following DNA, the podcast of DNA, the next thing you're going to be listening to is IQ. Now, there are some direct connections between DNA and IQ, which you'll see immediately, I'm sure. I don't want to give too much away about the story, but essentially it's set in a future world where people can buy and sell and gamble with their intelligence. So if you can imagine a world where everybody's given 100 IQ points at birth, and then when they turn 16 they can either stay as 100s and be provided for everything by the state, or alternatively they can gamble with their IQ. And some choose to stay as 100s and some don't. If they do well, if they manage to buy and sell IQ wisely, they become what's known as high flyers, and they become incredibly bright, and one would assume more successful in life. Whereas those who are foolish with their IQ can end up as IQ 30s in the Gladiator games. This is where our story begins. I won't tell you too much about it, but there's a family of 100s watching the Gladiator games, and an IQ 30 Gladiator walks into the arena as a 30, but he having won a whole bunch of IQ points in the battle, walks out as a 160. Very, very bright, but with absolutely no knowledge of who he is. Somehow the 100 in the crowd knows who he is, and it's about these two men trying to find out what the hell's going on. This is set in Sydney in 2290, although it's called Corporate City then. And there's an enormous 10-storey wall right around the Sydney Basin. So the whole story really is about these two people trying to find out who they are. It centres around an IQ 1000 autocrat, a dictator, a megalomaniac called Paul Viles. And I don't want to give too much away, but basically there's a big wall around the city and there's a wasteland outside, and that's about all the protagonists know. But in the course of the story they find out a hell of a lot more is outside that wall than they at first thought.